Hello, my name is Allison Kask, and this is my presentation on what is Universal Design for Learning and how can we implement it into our classrooms. So, what is UDL? On the CAST website, they say that UDL is a framework to improve and optimize teaching and learning for all people based on scientific insights into how humans learn. So, based on research and collecting data of how students learn and what has been successful. This presentation is going to give us a deeper insight into what the UDL framework really is and give us an idea of how to incorporate it into our classrooms. So what does this mean? Basically, UDL is for everybody. It's for all students all across the spectrum in our classrooms. UDL, its goal is to support and promote academic achievement to learners of all abilities, language backgrounds, ethnicities, and more. Basically, its goal is to make everybody successful as a learner. And lastly, it also aims to reach students who have typically been marginalized in a classroom designed for the so-called average student, which we have learned does not really exist. So how does UDL look in your own classroom? How are we assessing the students? Are we expecting them to simply memorize information and regurgitate it into meaningless tasks like multiple choice tests? Not that they're all bad, but our standardized tests, or are we helping our students find meaning behind their learning? So using multiple means of representation, how we're teaching material, how we're allowing them to engage with their material and express their knowledge. Are we finding consistency within this practice, or are we just throwing it in here and there? And then lastly, are our materials around the classroom and manipulatives meaningful for our students? So three of the biggest ideas behind UDL is using multiple means of representation, expression, and engagement in our classroom. So for multiple means of representation, this means that we're teaching our students the same material in a variety of ways. So thinking of Gardner's multiple intelligences theory, all students learn differently. Some may learn better from having additional visual aids, auditory aids, hands-on learning, or collaborating with their peers. So when the material is presented in multiple ways, it's more likely that one way or a few ways are going to connect with the student more than others. So at least some ways are going to help the student grasp the material. This goes hand in hand with multiple means of expression as well. When we're assessing our students for their grasp on the content, we must also allow them to demonstrate their mastery in a multiple of ways because all of our students are unique and will be able to exhibit their strengths in different ways. So this is just like how they learn in different ways. They can also present their knowledge and their mastery in different ways because not every student is going to be able to write an essay and demonstrate all their knowledge, where another student may not want to create something hands-on. So allowing them to have some choice in this area or just allowing different ways of expression throughout the year and throughout the curriculum. And also multiple means of engagement. It's always a great idea to ask students how they believe they learn best, what has been successful for them in the past, and how they enjoy learning. We want our students to enjoy being in our classroom because they spend so much time there every day, so why are we not asking them how they prefer? I have seen some charts or some papers that you can hand out to your students that ask them how they prefer to learn. So maybe they can circle seated on their desk or at the carpet, alone, in a group, in silence, in louder areas where they can pass around ideas, getting this feedback from the students themselves. So this slide just goes deeper into the various ways we can assess our students, just knowing that they learn, as I said before, using a variety of representations, and therefore we must allow them to express themselves in the same way. And this may be writing, acting, hands-on representation, maybe creating a poster, a diagram, something they can touch. And we can still relate our assessments, or we must relate our assessments back to the standards, but we must make learning more enjoyable for all of our learners rather than having to just memorize this content, sit down, fill out a test, and move on, because in which way are they really gaining more? So to continue with making the standards meaningful for our students, We obviously must meet certain standards in our curriculum, but we can be creative in how we do so. We do want to help our students focus on the what, how, and why of learning. So usually they do know what they are learning, but it's up to us to show them how. And this is shown through the multiple means of representation, showing them that they can learn the same material in a multitude of ways, hoping that one way, or at least one, will stick with them. And then hopefully getting them to the effective networks of the why they are learning. Why is this meaningful to them? How does it connect to them on a personal level? So we can help our students take ownership of their own learning by having them set their own goals, create their own questions, and they can even take on certain roles as they're learning. So maybe in a science unit, they're taking on the role of a geologist or an astronomer, or in math, taking on the role of a true mathematician, having them investigate, be curious, create questions that they are going to find throughout the unit as they learn. We also must be consistent in our practice. If we just have one day of a universally designed lesson, this does not make our classroom universally designed. We must be consistent and always be thinking of how to reach every single learner within our classroom. We must consistently reflect on our own practice, and it's not a bad idea to receive feedback from our own students, see if they feel like they are grasping the knowledge, how they may want to change the classroom environment, and what other strategies will help them learn best. Having meaningful materials around the classroom is also extremely important, between having meaningful manipulatives, posters around the classroom, labels. You can see in these pictures just a label all around the room, especially for our ELL students who may not be as familiar with basic words such as chair, desk, table, eraser, so that they're visually seeing these words, hearing them every day, and getting them into their vocabulary. Having meaningful manipulatives like the middle picture, finding ways so students can see their learning hands-on, actually understand what it is, because for so many students it's so hard to conceptualize these abstract ideas. So having manipulatives to make the learning real, to make them understand it better. And then other posters around the room, like the charts, like the emotion chart, helping students recognize emotions of others, build empathy. Just having materials like this around the room, that is really going to enhance their learning, both academically and socially and emotionally. So hopefully after this presentation, you've realized that you can incorporate UDL fairly easily into your classroom. It's just being aware of all the needs of your learners, thinking of various ways to present material, various ways to allow students to express their knowledge and grow as learners. Looking at this little cycle here, we're just consistently reevaluating ourselves as teachers, as educators, thinking about our students, thinking about how they learn, how we have learned best, and how we can change the system as it is now. Thinking of what their barriers are and how to solve them, thinking of what supports we can give them, how we can plan these lessons around all of their unique needs. This little quote up here says, "Learning has no limits," which is true. So as teachers, it is our job to support our students the best we can. So we can use this framework to help us do so, and hopefully we can. Thank you.